McInnes over on the right side to Suter, to McInnes. He shoots, broke the glass. He broke the glass behind the net. Look at that.
Spar, the puck is coming into your screen, under, you lose sight of it, and out the back of the net. That's a goal, Doc, for Shea Weber. 2-0 lead for Team Canada.
For NHL players, having a hard and accurate shot is a massive asset for any team. Think of players like Shea Weber. This dude literally shot a puck through the net, and his shot presence from the point was so impactful. Opposing players had to have a constant inner dialogue. Oh man, Weber is winding up. Should I block it? I'll probably get injured. Screw it.
Blocked by Matt Nieto. That goes out of play. Nieto is going to feel the effects of that drive.
And back in the early days of hockey, they were not ripping bombs from the point, not even close. For one, players used a wooden hockey stick with no curve. Goals were scored by getting the goalie to move in the net and then sliding the stick on the ice to make contact with the puck. A prehistoric way to score goals compared to modern standards. However, when the game started to become more popular, it started to evolve. In the 1930s, two-piece sticks were being widely adopted in the NHL, meaning the blade was now a separate piece from the shaft, which was a big deal, because back in the day, many stick blades would shatter upon impact. Therefore, with the two-piece, players weren't as hesitant to shoot hard, as they would quickly swap out their blade. And although there wasn't sufficient technology back in the day to track puck speed, based on historical data and game film, it is safe to assume players shot the puck around 20 to 30 miles per hour. And in the 30s, the average top goal scorer, aka Rocket Richard Winner, scored 28.3 goals per year on average. In the 1940s, stick technology wasn't really progressing, but higher revenues, interest in the game, therefore better training, led to goal scoring instantly spiking up to 36.5. In the 1950s, after the implementation and adoption of the fiberglass wrapped blade, which meant blades were much stronger, led to another large spike to 42.5 goals. In the 60s, we would see a monumental breakthrough.
Ranger defense, getting set, he may pass or shoot, he drives one, goal!
As hockey stick manufacturers introduced a stick blade made from fiberglass. And so why was this so significant? Around this time, players started to experiment, specifically Bobby Hull and Stan Mikita, who at the time were early in their careers. Young blood, hungry for any advantage, and they would quickly realize fiberglass had a unique property. If you boiled the blade in hot water and jam that sucker into the bottom of a door, you could create a curve, which enabled more accurate passes, stick handling, but most importantly, for the first time in history, you were able to shoot farther from a distance with much higher probability of hitting the net. Introduce the adoption of the slap shot, as this revolution led to players from shooting around, 30, 50 miles per hour in the decades prior, to shooting up towards 70 miles per hour. And there was even reports that Gordie Howe took a wrist shot that clocked in at 105.4 miles per hour. I mean, look at Gordie Howe back in the day. The guy was an absolute machine. And there was also reports that Bobby Orr took a slap shot at 118 miles per hour. However, given the stick technology and the technology they used to track these shots, experts found these numbers to be impossible. Nevertheless, the discovery of the curved blade would instantaneously revolutionize the entire game of hockey. Not only in shot speed, but goal production too, as we would see another spike in goal production by the scoring leader, from 42.5 to 47.4. It's important to note that when major shifts happen, major breakthroughs in the game's technology, it can take years, if not a decade, for this technology to become widely adopted by the league. The old-time boomers weren't too impressed by a curved blade, but in the 70s, shit popped off, as we would see exponential growth in goal production, as it would go from 47.4 all the way to 63.2, which is nearly 16 more goals scored on average by the Rocket Richard Winner. And so now, going into the 1980s, the hockey world was a different place, as Sherwood began to dominate the stick market, selling new, lightweight sticks reinforced with fiberglass, on top of the fact that players for the first time created curves to a science. Thus, the average amount of goals scored by the goal leader went from 63.2 to 74.8. Insane, as this was the era of high-flying offense.
Gretzky in on goal. Score! Breakaway in alone. Score!
But the good times had to come crashing down at some point, right? When goal production exponentially rises, so will defense. More specifically, goaltending. Because around this era, goal equipment became much better. Goalie stances and movement became more efficient. And as a result, it would see a drastic decline in goal production, as average would go from 74.8 to 49.4. However, even though goal production was going down, shooting mechanics, shot speed, it was going up.
Get to perform again this afternoon in Pittsburgh, along with today's current stars of the game in a skills competition.
The NHL All-Star Game was first implemented in 1947, and it was great, as it was the first time that all the stars could come together to put on a show for the fans. And not until 1990, the NHL would add the skills competition, as accuracy shooting, puck control relay, hardest shot, and the goaltending competition were added to the mix. And at last, we can claim our legitimate hardest shot record winner.
Players have the option, by the way. High kicks, do you believe that?
As Al Iafrate would claim the record, recording a shot at 96 miles per hour. Over 3 times, if not 4 times faster than the hardest shot speeds from back in the day. In 91 and 92, Al MacInnis would win the hardest shot competition, but would be just shy of the record with a 94 mile per hour shot. In 1993, Iafrate would make a statement, shattering his previous record.
Win. Yes, 105.2, 105 miles an hour.
With a 105.2 mile per hour shot. Crazy! A shot that was so powerful that it seemed impossible that anybody would ever surpass Iafrate. In fact, in the following decade, even with the introduction of the fully composite Easton Synergy stick, which means more bendy, less breaky, but more importantly, the introduction of a stick that can flex to propel the puck, nobody would come close, even with this new stick technology. And here we are. The days of Iafrate and MacInnis were gone, as the 6'9" mutant Zdeno Chara would start to make waves, as he would win 5 straight hardest shot competitions. In 2009, Chara would do the unimaginable, as he would tie Iafrate's record of 105.4 miles per hour. And as for the next year, the Big Z, after nearly 20 years, would claim the record.
105.9. That's a record.
For the hardest shot ever recorded in NHL history. In the next year, Chara would break his own record.
Shot. He said, all I can tell you is, and
Oh my,
well, look at this.
Quicker. 108.8. Wow.
Recording a mind-blowing 108.8 mile per hour shot. And for us Canadians, that is a 175 kilometer per hour shot. What sane person would want to take a 175 kilometer per hour shot to the body? Shea Weber would come close the next season, a 108.1 mile per hour shot. In the current day, stick technology has been rapidly advancing. In 2020, Elias Pettersson would record a 102.4 mile per hour bomb. So being that this is over 6 miles per hour less, why does this even matter? Elias Pettersson is 175 pounds soaking wet. Chara during his record season was at least 60, 70, if not 80 pounds heavier. And this is crazy. Being that size has a direct correlation to shot speed. And so if Pettersson can shoot that hard, it just means that players are taking advantage of this new stick technology. Understanding where to hold the stick, how to take advantage of the flex. It's the reason why Austin Matthews' shot is so deadly. And so if Pettersson can come close to winning a hardest shot competition, what does it mean for the future as sticks get even better? Even though Chara is a 6'9" giant, there will surely be a new hardest shot champion.
No cuffs on the gloves.
And well, there was, as Martin Frk in an AHL skills competition would do the unthinkable, as he would blast a 109.2 mile/hour shot. A non-NHL player is now the hardest shot champion of the world. So the question is, who's next?